Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And a couple of new games was announced for Xbox Game Pass today. No, this isn't the December lineup or anything like that, but out of nowhere they did announce two separate games, one of which is actually relatively new and could be a lot of fun for fans of cooperative shooters. So we are going to go over that today, and it also does sound like a leak that we talked about here recently is starting to sound more and more legit. Yeah, maybe that Chrono Remaster or remake is actually a real thing after all, so we're going to go over that one as well. To get the episode kicked off, though, we are going to be talking about the Steam Deck. Valve is set to release this in 2022 after a delay, but they are still being asked a lot of questions about this particular device. This is Valve's first handheld console after all, and a lot of fans, they do want to see how they approach this situation. What are they going to do with this device? So they did post a frequently asked questions page, which I will leave a link in the description below, but apparently one of the questions that was popping up quite a bit was, would Valve be interested in having any Steam Deck exclusive titles? And well, Valve responded by saying this: no, that doesn't make much sense to us. It's a PC and it should just play games like a PC. So there you have it. Valve is not interested in making any kind of exclusive titles for this particular device. I really kind of figured that would be the case just because this really just seems like another variant of a PC. Yes, it is a handheld device that comes pre-installed with the Steam OS, but don't let that fool you. This is still absolutely a PC, and that's why you can completely install a new operating system. If you want to go out and install Windows 10, you can absolutely do that. That way you can play other PC games such as Xbox Game Pass games. If you want to play GOG games, you can do that. Or maybe you just want to emulate other platforms. Well, the Steam Deck offers you the freedom to do such things. So yeah, it's not really a big surprise that there is no exclusive titles for the Steam Deck. I know Half-Life Alyx was a VR exclusive, but that was kind of a different thing because VR is its own thing. And even then, Half-Life Alyx was playable on other VR headsets. You didn't have to have the Valve Index. If you wanted to play that on the Oculus Rift S, well, you could do that. So yeah, Steam Deck is, after all, just another variant of a PC. Nonetheless, still a very exciting variant, and personally, I can't wait to get my hands on this next year in 2022. Now, we also got some news about Mercury Steam's next game, the developer behind Metroid Dread. Actually, if you think about it, Mercury Steam has experience with really both sides of the Metroidvania genre, as they've worked on not only Metroid Dread and Samus Returns, but they also worked on the Castlevania Lords of Shadows games. So they actually do have experience on both sides of the Metroidvania genre. And I think especially when it comes to Metroid Dread, they've really shown that they are a talented studio. So it will be interesting to see what they do next, and well, we've already gotten some information about their next game. Yeah, so 505 Games has officially announced that they will be co-publishing Mercury Steam's next game, which apparently is a third-person RPG set in a dark fantasy world. Now again, we've seen them work on Castlevania Lords of Shadows in the past, so they've already worked on a dark fantasy world in the past, so they have experience there, and it does seem like they're getting a pretty good budget here as well at $30 million. So we really are going to see what they can do here with their own game, and that is exciting, especially just after how good of a job they did with Metroid Dread. That is the other part of this story, though, because I do know that there's some fans out there that kind of worries about the future of the Metroid franchise, and now that it seems like Mercury Steam kind of has their own thing going on, there is this looming question about the future of the Metroid franchise. Is it going to be another situation where it takes like a decade plus before we see another 2D Metroid game? But it is important to note that in the past, Mercury Steam has been able to work on multiple games at once. So if Nintendo was thinking about partnering up with Mercury Steam once again, they might still be able to do that. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. This does seem like it's going to be a decent sized game, so it could use up a lot of resources, so we'll kind of have to see about all of that. I almost feel like this is one of those situations where Nintendo should have maybe stepped up and acquired Mercury Steam while they had the chance. We did see them do that earlier this year with Level Up and Luigi's Mansion, so I would have liked to have seen them do that with Mercury Steam, but nonetheless, it is still exciting to see what they'll work on next, as this, again, is a very talented studio. Moving on, Xbox Game Pass for the month of December is starting to shape up. Not only do we have Halo Infinite and The Gunk releasing day one into Xbox Game Pass, which already makes this an extraordinary month, but they also announced a couple of cooperative games that you might want to pick up and play with your friends, one of which is actually going to be available in Xbox Game Pass today, being Generation Zero. Now, this game was released a couple years back, and they explain this as you exploring an atmospheric and mysterious environment while engaging in first-person guerrilla action against hostile machine invaders. I've never personally actually played this one myself, and it did actually review quite poorly as well, but based off of some of the impressions that I've gotten over on Steam, it does sound like this is a game with a lot of potential, and after it's been out for a couple years, they have improved certain aspects to it. From what I'm hearing, it does sound like it is a good cooperative game. It is very atmospheric, and if you like a little bit more of a slower pace first-person shooter, you might be interested in Generation Zero. At the same time, though, I did see several reviews kind of talk about the potential of this game, so it doesn't necessarily sound perfect at the same time, but because this is coming into Xbox Game Pass, if you want to give it a try, you absolutely can do that. As for this other game here, though, they did announce Aliens Fireteam Elite, which is actually a relatively new game, is set to release on December 14th alongside the second season Point Defense update. So yeah, I think this is the game that's going to be a little bit more exciting for fans, just because the Alien franchise is such a beloved franchise in general, but I've also legitimately heard that this is a fun cooperative game. That's pretty much always the common theme that I hear when people talk about Aliens Fireteam Elite, is that it's just a fun cooperative experience, and especially if you like the Alien franchise, yeah, you're probably going to at least enjoy this game, but you do need a cooperative partner. This is not one of those games that you're going to want to play by yourself necessarily, but I think that that's perfectly fine. I've said this before on the channel, but I don't believe every game needs to be this great single-player experience with a phenomenal story. Sometimes it's just fun to pick up a game and play with your friends and just shoot hordes and hordes of enemies, and that's exactly what Aliens Fireteam Elite does. It has good presentation, the visuals are good, and now that it's an Xbox Game Pass, I think this is the perfect home for this game to kind of give it a second life, more or less. Maybe prior to this game coming to Xbox Game Pass, you might have been on the fence to pick up this game because maybe you couldn't convince your friend to play it with you as well. And because this game is primarily enjoyed playing it cooperatively, now if you and your friend both have Xbox Game Pass, it'll be much easier to convince that person to play with you. So there you have it. Alongside Halo Infinite and The Gunk, you also have a couple of fun cooperative games here to play as well. They're not necessarily earth-shattering or anything like that, but maybe some games to play with your friend and enjoy them together. Now, we also have yet another leak to talk about today, or actually, it's just more proof that a leak that we talked about earlier is actually indeed legitimate, and that would be for Chrono Cross, the remaster, or possibly remake. We still don't really have a confirmation on all of that just yet, but several times over the last couple months, it has popped up that a Chrono Cross remaster might be in development. And well, it is further starting to look like that is actually going to happen. Now, this is because of a data mine that was spotted over on Reddit, which shows that Eden, the cat beyond time and space, apparently had some files that shows a collaboration in the future with Chrono Cross. And the timing of all of this is just a little bit too convenient. As all of these Chrono Cross remaster rumors are starting to circulate, here we have a game doing some kind of collaboration with Chrono Cross in the near future. And you have to wonder if this is because Chrono Cross indeed is actually in development. I mean, we're talking about a game that is more than 2 decades old, and then all of a sudden you're going to do a collaboration with Chrono Cross? That seems a little bit odd, so maybe there's actually some legitimacy to those rumors after all. I mean, if you start to look at all of the events that's happened around Chrono Cross in recent months, it is starting to kind of add up that there might be something to this rumor after all. A musician a couple months ago did tease that she was working on a game that was apparently a big PlayStation remake and that it was going to be announced in December, and then later on it was found out that she was kind of linked to the composer of Chrono Cross. And then later on you have Nick Baker, a well-known known insider over on Xbox Era, he said that he did hear some things about a Chrono Cross remaster, though according to what he's been hearing, it's actually a multi-platform game from his understanding. So he is assuming it's at least on PlayStation and the Nintendo Switch. And then here we are a week or so later, and now you have this data mine that shows a Chrono Cross collaboration. Even now you have Gematsu, a reputable outlet, and they also say that they've heard that a remastered version of Chrono Cross is in development. So yeah, everything is just kind of pointing to this actually being a thing, and if all of this is true, and as we heard before, if it really is set to be announced this December, I think there's a very good chance that we hear about this over at the Game Awards. So we'll kind of see if all this is true there or not, but for the time being, per usual when it comes to any rumors, even if there is a lot of things happening, of course, always take it with a grain of salt. It's just always kind of important to temper expectations just in case something doesn't end up happening. I would like to hear your all's thoughts on this topic though. If you've played Chrono Cross in the past, are you excited for a remake or remaster? Let me know in the comments below. Another thing that we've been hearing a lot about here recently, though, would be Halo Infinite's multiplayer. Now, there's kind of two sides of the coin here when it comes to Halo Infinite's multiplayer. One being Halo is finally back. The multiplayer in this game is insanely fun. The guns, the movement, everything feels so great in this game. So there's a lot of people just really enjoying this game. But then on the other side, there's some disappointment when it comes to the battle pass and the progression system. It does take quite the time commitment to unlock a lot of the items in this game. They don't simply reward you for winning matches, getting kills, and doing all the things that you should be doing, but rather they have different challenges to reward you, and not all the time does it actually benefit actually winning. It seems kind of counterproductive. But the good news is that 343 Industries is listening here, and they are looking to make some improvements. Now, currently, this is just a quick fix with them looking to do some bigger changes in the future, but what they're doing right now, starting tomorrow, is that for your first 6 games, you'll receive 1,000 experience points. And this here is actually a nice little improvement, at least for the short term, because previously it would take about 20 games to get that amount of experience points. So that is a good start, but as they noted here, they did say this: "We know many of you want even larger changes, and we're committed to doing so, but those will take time. We made this update based on data and player feedback, and will monitor its impact after we push it live tomorrow morning. As always, keep sharing your feedback." So there you have it. 343 did further confirm that they are looking to make some bigger changes down the road. Unfortunately, it's not going to be immediate, but for the short term, at least they are doing something to improve that progression system for the time being. Let's go and take a look at the poll of the day, though. Yesterday, we did talk about a rumor going around that a new bioshock game is set to be announced sometime here soon, being Bioshock Isolation. But the thing is anytime that there's a bioshock conversation, I always hear a lot of different people talk about their specific favorite bioshock entry, because it just seems very different from person to person. So I wanted to know your all's favorite here. And as you can see here, 33% of you voted for Bioshock, only 8% of you voted for Bioshock 2, 23% for Bioshock Infinite, and then 30% of you have never played a Bioshock game. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in the 30% right there, because there's a good reason that these are such beloved entries, but nonetheless, the first Bioshock winning, I think, is the right decision here. Personally, for me, that first Bioshock game was just so atmospheric. It almost had a bit of a horror vibe going to it. It was legitimately kind of scary the first time you entered Rapture and you see this mutated like creature thing, and then you run into this thing called a Big Daddy, and it has a big drill for an arm. It just had a really interesting and unique atmosphere to it. Now, I know Infinite had its own interesting theme as well, but really it just didn't grab me the same way as that first Bioshock game, though I completely understand why fans would love that game so much as well. These games do also have really interesting stories and lore with their dystopian settings, and that is something that I'll really be interested in seeing with whatever this next Bioshock game is. Whether that rumor that was going around yesterday is true or not, I really am interested in seeing what they do with the setting of the next game. For that matter, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how this game turns out without Ken Levine, which was a big part of the reason Bioshock had so much success. So, I mean, there's still some questions around this, but a new Bioshock in development, yeah, personally, I think that's pretty exciting. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.